Our guest tonight is Kiran Modak. He is the founder of Unsocial and App-tastic, and here is his app. We're going to talk to him in a couple minutes. Stay tuned. Hello and welcome to episode 25 of Small Businesses Do It Better, where we highlight small business owners who share their fun, their work, and everything in between. This show is brought to you by Ovaleye. Ovaleye is where we empower your home office lifestyle through web hosting, cloud services, and domain names. Visit ovaleye.com to work with us today. And audible.com. Get your free Audible book download at www.audibletrial.com/Ovaleye. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Hello, I'm Kathy, the Chief Decision Maker at Ovaleye.com. Welcome to our show tonight. It's going to be special.
And I'm Carissa Dunphy, the Community Relations Manager at Ovaleye.com. So I walked into the studio tonight. I got our producer all excited because I said, I found this awesome new notebook. I found it in a very cool color. And he got all excited because he's the technology guy. So I showed him my new notebook, and it's literally a notebook. Paper, $2. But he thought it was like a notepad, like computer, typing. So he got all worked up and all excited, but I'm just excited about my little office store trip.
We're going to have to take her on a field trip to the Apple store soon.
It was funny. This is very important, though, except, yeah. Anyways, highlight of my day. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about really quick is Back to Business Building Summit. We're starting to get the applications rolling in for people to present.
Pretty exciting.
So if you'd like to speak at our Back to Business Building Summit, September 26th through 28th, it's an online conference hosted by Ovaleye. We're using our web conferencing rooms. You can have up to, 100 people?
100 people. We had 100 people last year in each one of the classes, or about that. So it's been, it's really great to get.
So it's
people.
free for presenters and for attendees. So just go to b2bbsummit.com, and if you'd like to apply to speak, that's where you do that.
Well, we record all those sessions too, and we hand them back to you so you can share them with your followers. So it's a pretty cool thing.
It was awesome last year, so we're going to hype it up a little bit this
year.
Do
it again. All right, so we are going to talk to our guest tonight because a lot of we're a hosting company, so a lot of the customers that we have, they're all asking us how you do apps for iPhones. In fact, one of them is doing, the Woolly Bugger is doing chucking bugs, which is pretty cool.
He's a fly fisherman. Yes. That's why he's talking about chucking bugs.
But so this one tonight is actually helping small businesses kind of network at social events. So let's get him on so we can talk to him about Unsocial. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hi, Kiran.
Hi, Carissa. Hi, Kathy. How are you guys doing?
Very good. It's so great to have you because, like I said, so many people really want to know about apps for phones, for smartphones.
Yeah, smartphones is definitely a very happening industry to be in right now.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and Unsocial and App-tastic?
Yeah, my name is Kiran. I came into this country in 1996 to do my MBA and kind of stuck around after that. I would call myself somebody who's been in business for a while, a serial entrepreneur. Have not really worked for a lot of big companies, but when I did, I came out of it with something. So my last big assignment was with AT&T, and what came out of it was the idea that I could start a mobile application development company. And that's where App-tastic started with a couple of other people. We started working on developing apps for small businesses, and advertising companies and a lot of different people. The idea was very simple. We would develop apps in India, outsource them over there, do the design over here, and deliver it to our customers at a cheaper cost than they would for what they would get over here. And that kind of started working, and we started getting customers. Along the way, we kind of figured out that there was not a lot of scalability in this business. So we came up with the idea for Unsocial. And along the way, we were able to launch it, get it out into the market, get it discovered, get some press around it, and eventually get some funding. Long story short, people who invested in the company were very happy with what we were doing on Apptango side of things and wanted us to continue doing both Apptango and Unsocial. So today we run two companies. One is Apptango, which develops apps for a lot of small businesses and a lot of different companies, advertising companies. And then we have Unsocial, which is our own app on which we spend significant amount of our time. We are launching a new version on August 31st. So those are the two sides of our house.
Well, and that is a very unique thing, too, is that you are also helping small businesses, but you're also creating those apps. And I saw some of the apps you had, but also I'm impressed with your marketing for this. I mean, Mashable, TechCrunch, all of the big ones were talking about your application, which is amazing.
And that's what it comes down to is sometimes it takes a little bit of luck along with a good idea. Having somebody like a Mashable, a TechCrunch, or a VentureBeat notice you is not a given. You can't go into business planning that these guys are going to pick your app up and introduce it. But you got to have a clear idea of what you're trying to do. You got to address a clear need in the market and say, the reason why I'm introducing this app is because something like this does not exist, or it's going to solve an existing problem, or be a better Angry Birds, for example. Something that improves upon what you currently have. So those are the reasons why you would want to have an app. And all the discoverability portion, the marketing portion of it is being in the right place at the right time and having the right team. Our PR folks were really good, and they worked hard. And we got a lot of press out of our launch, and a lot of people were interested in our idea because it was unique. Nobody was doing this at the time, where we were basically saying that we are focusing only on business. We don't care about your, Farmville or what your niece looks like or where you went on your vacation. Yeah. So that was the idea, to introduce people for business, and that's why we, I think, got a little bit of coverage where people were so interested in the idea and are still interested.
Yeah.
So one of the things, you mentioned a couple things, but I wanted to ask, what are some things that a business should consider when deciding if they should have an app for their business or not?
Well, we come back to the same decision-making process that these businesses probably went through when they decided to get their website. 10 years ago, 11 years ago, when web was big and people were saying, okay, everybody needs a website. The companies that were successful with their websites at that time knew that they were coming up with a website not because it was what everybody was doing, but because there were specific reasons why they were building a website. The same thing applies for applications. If you have a specific reason, if you are addressing a need, or it might be an existing business where you're saying, okay, because of this app, we will improve customer service, or because of this app, we will improve the quality of information that people get. There need to be specific reasons why you're developing an app, and that's a good way to approach why you would need an app. Cost for developing apps are a little bit higher than they are for websites, and also one size does not fit all. With websites, you develop one website and pretty much everybody on their computer is going to see it the same way. With apps, you got iOS and Android and Windows Mobile and BlackBerry and a lot of other variations of this kind of stuff. So you really have to be savvy about what you're doing with the app. Who are you introducing it for? What platform are you going to use? So there are a lot of decisions that you need to take when it comes to an app. Starting with the idea of why people are going to use your app is actually a great starting point.
Let me ask you then, okay, so a small business owner comes to Apptango and they say, I have this. Now, do you just say, okay, we make a plan, you pay us, and we make that? Or do you have to go through a process too?
No, what we usually do is, and sometimes we get a lot of people coming into our office and saying, okay, we got this great idea, we want to develop an app, and we sit down with them and we talk them through the idea and we tell them that, hey, have you thought about this? There is already a company that's doing this. Or have you thought about that? There's already a company doing this. And a lot of times people will not have taken the time to research their competition, or really they have had the idea and they just want to sit down and talk with somebody. And the way we look at it is that we are a small business. So for us to be successful, our limited number of customers need to be successful. So we don't take every single person who walks in through the door. We try to counsel them. We try to consult them. And this kind of stuff we do. We don't expect to get paid for that. We want to make sure that when you walk into the door and you commit to developing an app, it's not just a decision about money, but it's also an emotional decision for people. Businesses are emotional. You spend a lot of time on this. And a lot of people don't get that aspect. It's not just that you lost $10,000 because you developed a bad app. It's the amount of time and the energy and the emotions you spent as well. So we really take the time to sit down with our customers and understand what it is that they're looking to do and whether it is something that's a viable business. And if we think it's a viable business and they think they have the funds to go ahead with it, and, then we go ahead and then we start a process of discovery, finding information. But there is that first step involved where we find a little bit more about what they're intending to do.
Very nice. So if a business decides they want to go ahead with an app and they want to start planning it, I guess, in the kind of the early stages, what are some things that they should consider including at it? Where should they start?
Yes.
I think looking at two important aspects of what mobile does is, one is location. And finding out how location fits into what they're trying to do is an important step for any company these days. See if they can leverage. The second important thing is social media. Nowadays, it's almost mobile and social go hand in hand. What kind of a social strategy do you have? Is social going to be integrated with mobile? Is that a part of the business? So those are the kind of things I would really consider. Those are the couple of things I would start considering. And then there are, of course, other aspects like your community and marketing, discoverability, a lot of other things, but those two come to my mind first.
How did you, we're going to talk about behind the name of Unsocial, but do you come up with all these ideas for apps all the time since you work in that industry, or how did this...
We had when we started Apptango, we had a list, an Excel sheet of about 15, 20, 30 different ideas that nobody had done anything about, and we thought would be great starting points. But at that time, we were, a little naive. We had just started, and, the whole idea that you could just crank out an app and it's going to be a success overnight was pretty rampant. And I remember days when we would go home at night. We would be working till 10, 11 at night every night because it was big at that time. And then come back the next morning and say, I had this brilliant idea, and then change the direction of the entire company, get everybody attracted around that idea, and just go on another harebrained chase. And that took a while before we started realizing, that's not important as picking an idea and sticking with it and actually pushing it through. So we have stopped doing that. We don't come to the office every day and say, okay, I've got this new brilliant idea anymore, because we do have the resources internally for doing the development. And it's a little bit easy to get distracted by, say, I've got one designer, one developer, I'm just going to go and crank things out. But nowadays we approach it in a little bit of a way where we say, okay, we got these two ideas that we are working on. One's Unsocial, our product, and the other is, of course, we do development for a lot of our customers, and that's going to keep us busy. That's a viable business, and we are doing well in that business, and we should just keep doing that. Of course, it doesn't mean that somewhere along the way we are not going to come up with another idea and work on it. And in fact, we are working on another idea, which I'm not going to talk about right now because it's a little hush.
Come on.
But it's going on, and we're working on some of those things.
Very cool. Well, let us know as soon as you can share your new idea.
Yes, please.
Definitely.
Can you share some examples with us of apps that have helped businesses get a following or increase sales, maybe that you've worked with or just that you have seen that you followed?
Well, instead of talking about a lot of different things, I thought the perfect example to talk about this would be Rovio, which a lot of people don't know is the publisher behind Angry Birds. And they have been a company that had been around for ages. I mean, they are a 12, 13, 14-year-old company, and nobody knew about them. Nobody had heard about them. And then that one Angry Birds comes out, and suddenly they're on top of the world. They're talking about movie rights, their merchandising.
That's right, yes.
You see their stuff everywhere.
Everywhere.
The bookstores, there's stuffed
Kids
animals,
parties.
there's cookies, there's
Yes.
everything. I saw Angry Bird cake pops the other day.
Exactly. So that's a small business that just went haywire, right? And it's mobile. It's mobile that did it. It was basically their success on mobile that really catapulted them into the big leagues. Because before that, they were a small game developer with not even a big hit to their name. And that's what happens. You take mobile, and it's a perfect accident, and it worked for them. So that's one example.
This is good. Good stuff.
So like Angry Birds, take the example of, say, an Open Table. This is a business that is 100%, I would say, driven by mobile. If people don't have their mobile phones, they don't make their reservations that way. And Open Table exists because mobile is so strong. And then take example of Kayak, which is a great way to look at travel these days. And again, these are companies that I thought would be interesting to talk about because they have taken the normal paradigms of how business works and taken it to mobile and been successful. They're big companies today, but they were not always that big, and mobile definitely helped them bridge that gap. So,
perfect examples. Yes. Because look at Kayak is in the news, last week, or is it Monday? I can't remember, but big news for them.
Yep. So that's what it is. Mobile really allows you to differentiate yourself if you do things in a smart way. But what people need to understand is that mobile is not something that's a magic pill. You take it and it's going to work. There is a lot of hard work that goes into it, just like with anything else. And if you're going to take the step of going mobile or leveraging mobile, it needs to be thought out really well.
That's a very good point, because a lot of people think, just because I have an app, it's going to go viral, and they don't understand the whole part system, all the elements of it. Yes. So speaking of apps, I want to talk about Unsocial, because it's it's a location-based mobile app for business networking. And like Kathy said, they went to Spark and Hustle last week, and this was a great tool for them.
It would have been nice because there was a lot of women, and what if they needed hosting or different things that I needed too? So it would be fun to just have my iPhone and click on it.
Yeah, and I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw a commercial for the Unsocial app somewhere, and it was about a guy who needed a lawyer, and they were both on Unsocial, and they never would have met otherwise if they didn't both use the app.
That was cute.
Absolutely. The idea behind Unsocial was that people need to meet each other, but right now we kind of exist in these parallel universes, right? Your social network and my social network would never meet if you and I didn't meet. So how do we get people to meet one another? LinkedIn is a perfect example of a company that is in the business space and business space only, right? They're basically saying that we are 100% dedicated for business, but they're also not saying that let's allow you to meet people. Let's open up the entire LinkedIn network and allow you to talk to anybody, because it would lead to spam. It also goes against their philosophy of not adding people that you don't know. With Unsocial, as a small company trying to do something new and different, all we looked at was how can we bridge the gap between people networking and people meeting. So the idea was Unsocial, where you would discover people around you. You would even discover their LinkedIn profiles, see what they're doing, and decide who you wanted to network with. So that lawyer example is perfect, right? I mean, you're sitting in a train station, just looking at your app and seeing who's around, and you see this lawyer, and it's interesting because he's there and you're there. You just send a small note to the person and say, okay, can we talk right now? We're both here. So we kind of expanded that to businesses, to events. And events are very interesting because people go to events for two reasons. One is for the great content that the organizers put together. And second is for networking, meeting people in their business, in their industry, prospective clients, things of that nature. So most organizers do a great job of putting together amazing content, and that's what their responsibility is. Yes. But when it comes to networking, they haven't taken that much effort because they think that people will be here, we'll organize a nice breakfast or a nice lunch, we'll have a cocktail hour, and people will just stand around and mingle and meet each other. But that's not how it works. Networking in real life is very personality dependent. If you're an outgoing person who gets along with people, have a nice personality, you feel confident about approaching any stranger and talking to them and doing well. But it doesn't work that way for everybody. People are shy. That doesn't mean they don't have stuff to offer.
You got that right. Yes.
So when these shy people come to a big event, other people are losing out because they would meet these people and do business with them. So we thought that if our app Unsocial was expanded to events where people would just basically be able to see who's around them and network. The goal was to say, if I introduced you to 4 new people that you did not know and they were good contacts, would you consider this a successful event? And most people's answer is yeah. If I met even 2 people, it would be a successful event for me. So that's where Unsocial came to the rescue for most of these event companies, where now people basically get on the phone when they're at an event, see these 70, 80, 90, 100 people, depending on the size of the event, and decide who they want to network with. And now that they've made a connection through Unsocial, now they can basically spend the rest of their time focusing on the content or focusing on other things, or even trying to meet more people now that you have made your connections.
Well, that's funny you're saying this, because at this last event we went to, the speaker kept telling us during each break, you should change seats, change tables, so you get to know more people that way.
Right.
The goal is 2 or 3 people per, so many hours or whatever, because we were there all day. And look we're never going to move from this phone that we have now, because you've created this wonderful thing.
Well, they're right? That's their unscientific way of trying to get networking going. And it doesn't always work, because people get comfortable and people don't want to
move that often.
Exactly.
Yes.
And the idea that you're only going to talk between breaks, that's very manufactured. You don't always hit it off during the breaks. What if you were just about to hit it off and the speaker starts speaking again?
Correct.
Those are the kind of things that a lot of networking depends on serendipity, luck, who you sit next to, right? That's what they're trying to see. Just try to move around and see, out of the 15 people you sit next to today, see if anybody's interesting. Well, Unsocial is a little bit better way of doing it, right? You just basically look at the app, look at the 75, 80, 90 people in there, and decide who you want to network with, rather than just gambling the entire time you're there. So
life is going to be so different. and this is already, you've got event planners or event people, organizers, talking to you and paying for your app to go in and use it during their events, right?
Absolutely. We do almost 5 to 6 events every month right now, and we're doing everything from small events to big events. We are working with big companies like Intel and Wired. We also work with IDG, which publishes a lot of magazines and does almost 15, 16 events every month. The CIO events, CEO events, and these are 100, 200 person events, and they use our app every month for these events. The idea behind it was that instead of trying to spend a lot of money and resources on trying to make this a consumer app recognizable, like say a Facebook or a LinkedIn or a Foursquare, we would focus on actually generating some cash for the company, where every single one of these events pays us to use Unsocial. And they discover Unsocial. Most of our customers discover Unsocial in one shape or other at some of the events that they've been to as an attendee, then call us and say, hey, we would like to use it at an event that we have organized. And that's how we get a lot of our customers.
Yeah, and
love it.
It's super easy to, I guess, install. It's a free download, which they want to keep free for consumers. But I saw somewhere it's like Foursquare and LinkedIn having a baby, because it's the location of Foursquare with the business aspect of LinkedIn, and you can import your LinkedIn profile, so you don't have to go spend time setting up your settings, typing in your name, your city, all this stuff. You just hit connect with LinkedIn, and it goes in, and you're done, and you're searching.
It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's free. The idea behind it was we decided to use LinkedIn because we wanted to keep the distinction between business and personal separate. And LinkedIn's been great, because now you can just import your profile, and instead of having to spend 10, 15 minutes creating your own profile, now you got an app which, like you said, within a minute and a half of downloading, you're using. And all your information is current, and it's from a source that you maintain. So that's the way I think it would enable people to get started faster.
And one of the things in the setup process, you can enter tags for things that you're interested in, which is one of the factors on how it suggests who you should connect with. What are some of the factors that suggest the contacts to a user?
Right now, what we're doing is we are also automating that process a little bit. We are actually in our next version, and even in the version that you guys have. By the way, our next version is coming out some August 31st, so watch out for Unsocial around that date. We would be releasing our iPhone app at that time, and then followed in 2 weeks by our Android app. And then we'll have a track for introducing the Windows Mobile and the BlackBerry apps. But the idea behind tags was that people need to get matched up with other people. Now, in the next version, and even in this version to some extent, what we're doing is we're mining your your LinkedIn profile to take that information automatically. So the companies that you worked for, like the colleges that you went to, or the technologies that you worked on, those all become tags and keywords. And then you start matching those tags against other people who are like-minded. The idea behind it was to simplify it a little bit. And in the next version, we have actually made that the entire process invisible. So you're not actually having to do a lot of that stuff on the front end. It's happening for you in the back end.
Very nice. Very nice. So you kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but can you reiterate how Unsocial can benefit people at networking events, conferences, or even when traveling when they're completely away from their normal area?
So the goal of Unsocial is that it is a fluid network. It's not a fixed network, right? So when you're in New York, the 300 people that are around you, 400 people around you, are different from the 400 people around you when you're in Los Angeles, which is completely different from your social networks. Your Facebook friends or your LinkedIn network, doesn't matter where you go, it's the exact same. So what we're creating is a situation in which you can meet new people and different people. So for example, when you're traveling and you go to New York, now you're able to see people in New York and be able to make connections over there. So that's one example of how you would use it while traveling. Another example of how people would be able to use this kind of app is when they're sitting in busy airports, or when they are really going to these different places and basically saying, hey, I'm a web developer, I'm here now, and you just basically check in your location. And now people in that location will keep seeing you. And now you have a business identity, or you have a presence in markets where you don't normally have presence in. We envision Unsocial after a certain point where you would actually make traveling decisions based on Unsocial, whether I'm going to stay at the Radisson or the Marriott, depending on the amount of people in Unsocial staying at the Radisson versus the Marriott. Because at that point, you would say, I want to network with more people, I'm going to go to the Marriott because there is 80 people versus only 30 at the Radisson. And I would pay that $15 more that the Marriott is asking me because that's what it costs to be there. So that's what the original vision was.
A whole different way of thinking now.
Definitely.
And an easier way to think too.
Yep.
So I love it.
And this confused me, so I have to ask you, how did you come up with the name Unsocial?
Well, it was kind of interesting, right? We wanted to go beyond your social networks. We wanted it to feel like, this is nothing to do with social. It is something to do with people that are not in your social network. So Unsocial became the working title. And we said, okay, we will call it codename Unsocial, and we'll start developing, and we'll figure out a name as we go along the line. But everybody we talked to had two comments. One was they will never forget the name because it was kind of imprinted. And second, it had a little bit of a negative connotations to it, but it was not that bad where they said, it doesn't put us off this. And pretty soon it became pretty clear that Unsocial was the name that we were going to go with. And so we did all our branding on that name. And it's got us a lot of recognition because a lot of people look at that name and go, wow, I want to know a little bit more about Unsocial. And that's the exact reaction a small business would want if somebody's interested in wanting to know a little bit more about you.
Correct. And I like code name Unsocial.
So can you tell everybody where we can find your websites, your apps, and all that information online?
Yeah. For doing the development, our website is App-tango. It's www.apptango.com. And that's where you would contact us if you wanted us to do any app development for you. Even just give us a call and see if we can help you figure out whether you need an app or not. And it doesn't cost anything, and we would be more than happy to take the time to do that. And for Unsocial, if you are an event company or if you're just interested in downloading our app, just go to unsocial.mobi. Or if you're on your iPhone or your Android, just go in your marketplace in iPhone at your App Store and on Android at the Google Play Store, and just search for Unsocial, and you should find our app and be able to download it. It's the first thing that comes up. So those are the two places I would look for Unsocial, and download it and start using it. So.
Oh, and you have a Facebook page, right?
Yeah, if you want to get social with Unsocial, they have Facebook and Twitter as well.
Yes, we have a Facebook page for both Unsocial and App-tango, and then Twitter pages for both Unsocial and App-tango. And again, if you just type in search on both Twitter and Facebook, you should be able to find those pages.
Yes, so easily. I want to thank you so much for being a part of our show tonight. You have given us lots of great tips, and I hope you come back when you start that new one you're working on now.
No, definitely. Thanks for having us, and thanks, Carissa, for making sure that we were able to get this done. I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and I wish you all the best with your interviews week in and week out, and thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
That was some great information for
Yes.
anyone
Carissa,
considering
thank
an
you.
app. Yeah, that was exciting.
It was nice that he thanked
Jen
you.
says I geek out a lot, but
Yes,
this
you
is
do.
one of the things I can geek out about. Or
But that's
nerd
a
alert,
good thing.
Nerd alert. She's
Nerd
starting
alert.
a trending topic on Twitter for Carissa's nerd alerts.
But that's the best part of you. So you want to say who's on next week?
Next week we have Nicole Pontillo. She owns Diva Fab Fitness. It's fitness for busy working women, which is she understands busy working women very well and
I've
how
met
she can
her in
help them.
person, and she will light up the screen when she's on because she lights up the room when she comes in. So it'll be a lot of fun to talk to her. And tonight, I hope everybody took away some great tips. It was a lot of fun tonight.
Yes.
And, well, until next week.
We'll have all the links
Oh,
that
yes.
Kiran mentioned
Yes, please.
tomorrow and forevermore on Ovaleye.tv. And so visit Ovaleye.tv if you're watching this later.
All right. So this is Kathy and Carissa. We'll see you next week.